Second flip of the 2020 aerobic composting heap. So gotta get to work. I already collected some greens. You can see them in the buckets over there. I've got a fresh batch of kitchen scraps, which are eggshells and peels of whatever we were eating. And then I've got a different ingredient in that barrel, and I'll show you that when we get to it. If you've watched my other videos, you've seen it before. Oh yeah, she's hot. No surprise, actually. We had us a polar vortex come streaming in from Canada. I'm wondering what the Canadians have against me right now. It's all of our gardens. But seriously, the jet stream has been unhinged. And you think we're going to have to be dealing with this kind of problem a lot in the future. Varying temperatures. Something we're not used to. And the reason why it's been unhinged is because the ice over the Arctic Sea is losing its cooling ability. I don't know if you can call it abrupt or not. I guess it depends on if you think in geological terms. Geological time, well, maybe it is pretty fast. But you can find these charts where they had satellite pictures comparing year over year since like 1980 or something. And it's going away. Sometimes the extent of the ice gets kind of close to the average, but the thickness isn't there. So that means if you have another warm summer, it melts a lot faster. So again, I'm taking the outside bottom of the pile first. In the past there's been no action there. But now that I started using more water, I'm having better action. There is some action right at the bottom. So we're going to get some of this built up a little bit. And I got to determine if I'm going to add a little water. I probably should. Doesn't really look like I need much. This is where it's been the driest in the past, is right here on the bottom edge. When you have too much water, you kind of know it because everything starts sticking together and globbing. You get a pretty good smell out of it. This doesn't smell that way. Oh, I'm seeing some of that white. I used to think it was mold. Let me see if I can get a little bit on my fork. There, it's on that bean pod. I used to think this was mold, but it's actually a bacteria. And somebody who knows about it commented and said, I think that's one of those very beneficial bacterias that really enhance the composting action. So I was pretty happy to hear that. Actually, I read it. One of the subscribers to the YouTube channel said in the comments below, sort of thing. Then I looked it up, and sure enough, there's a bacteria that's white that looks like a mold. I think we're going to put this kitchen scraps right here in the center. We'll use this to get some water. We haven't been eating a lot of the foods we've been, so we don't have avocado peels in here, very few grapefruit. Our orange eating is way down versus what it used to. I suppose there's a lot of people are in that position right now. I read there was 34 million people unemployed now in the United States. That's not good news. That's very bad news. And you know they can't keep sending checks. They, meaning, you know, the government, Federal Reserve, can't keep sending checks forever. So, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I am a little worried about it. I can see my business is way, way down. And although I don't have a lot of debts, I think I can make her not a lot less. As long as nothing breaks. The biggest expense right now is employees. So if this thing really winds down, it's just a matter of having less employees. I did get some help from the government with the employees, so we're kind of running on that right now, which is I guess that's what they wanted. So I do have some work that I can do that really doesn't make much money. Doesn't make any money actually, the way the price of steel collapsed. So we're getting low on stuff to make money on. And we're going to start doing that unprofitable or non-revenue and stuff that's got to be done, and I'll bank it for the future if it ever gets going again. We'll see. Don't know. Okay. In this bucket, in this barrel, is human hair. Look at that. I had a barber who used to bring that to me. I cut him off because it was bringing me too much. I still got another pretty big batch full. I'll use that for next year. But hair has a lot of, human hair has a lot of different elements in it. In the past I said something like I use it for the arsenic, and I got some negative comments over arsenic, but plants do have a use for arsenic. So the problem is if you have industrial, non-organic arsenic and you have a whole lot of it, that's the problem with arsenic. And a whole lot of it isn't that much. The arsenic in human hair is not really anything to be concerned about. I mean, if it was of a concern to human health, none of us would want to have hair. So it also has a nitrogen component to it, so that'll help keep this pile hot. Again, we got a lot of garlic mustard in our greens. We're starting to add some different plants to it. We're seeing a few burdock come out of the ground, so there's some burdock leaves in here. And goldenrod's getting a little taller, so I'm starting to pay more attention to that and grabbing some of that, more of that. Then there's that plant that I don't know what is that I showed you the last video. I still have yet to get a reply from a biologist telling me what it is. I'll know what it is as soon as it flowers, but I can't think of it now. Okay. Chira has a whole lot of starch in it. Then I had a bumper crop on I can't think of it now. Oh well. It's got those nice little orchid-like flowers to it. I think it's because it was a wet year. Yeah, and I got some of this sod grass left yet. I didn't get it all in there. Get a couple hunks of that in there. Ooh, I just saw a mouse going out. We've got to kill those mice. Mice that do not get along in the garden. Not at all. This time of the year they start to have more wild food available to them, so they're tuning out a little bit. They're still pretty predatory, but not as much as what they were just a week or two ago. Piece of plastic. I want that from there. Now I'm flipping this. I did it 2 days and 7 hours ago. This is the second flip. The first flip from the second to the first was 4 days and 15 hours. So I'm lengthening out the time a little bit. And the reason is I'm looking for that white mold, because right there at that 2-day mark is when it starts to grow. But if you let it grow, if you let the pile go too long, then the center turns anaerobic, and we don't want to do that. That slows everything down, and that's a different kind of a conversion. It's not bad, but it's not as good as the aerobic conversion. You got to think everything in your garden is because of an oxygen-ethylene exchange. When you go to anaerobic, all that changes. And it's the different types of plants that grow in that kind of conditions. Swamp plants. Here's that mullein seed head. Jewelweed, that's what it was. We got jewelweed down here. I found a website a long time ago that listed all the elements in the various wild plants. For some reason I can't bring it back up. Keywords aren't working like they used to. I think our high-tech overlords, our technology overlords, are limiting what we're allowed to see these days. Which I don't think is going to last long, because I don't think their technology or they are going to last too much longer. Not as they're living anyway. Lots of changes coming. I don't even care if you have $137 billion. I think you're going to run out of money. It's money and credit that's the problem right now. And money is going to be losing its value. Right now it's gaining value. We're in a deflationary period, and it might last a couple of years. I was reading that there's going to be supply glut of oil for between 5 and 10 years. So that'll be reflected in deflationary numbers. And because people aren't going to be having money because they've lost their jobs, everything else that they normally bought, especially items of what I have termed in the past as trivial pursuit. All of those, like vacations, whatever, all of that is going to come way down in price because there's just not the same demand for it. And this is just what I think is going to happen. I'm just telling you what I think. That doesn't mean I'm right. I told you last time I'm a dilettante. Well, I'm interested in it, but that doesn't make me an expert, even though I don't think there are such things as experts. I'm definitely not claiming to be an expert. I'm just talking as I'm shoveling my compost pile. So we're having this 5 to 10 years of an oil glut, and what's happening, what that is doing right now is it's slowing down the spending that the oil companies do on exploring and developing new fields. And if these prices persist, there'll be a point where they're hardly spending anything compared to what they used to. And even though the demand is way low, and even if it stays way low, there is a point at which, because there's no new development, there'll be oil shortages. That's what it looks like. We used to have a stable economy, but we all took on too much debt. The Federal Reserve printed too much money. They all thought that 2% growth was this great number. And I'm sure they realize it. If they don't, they're really stupid, but they got to realize this. The way exponential growth works, you just can't do that for very long. It's just the way it works. The numbers don't lie. So, there's lots of trouble ahead. If you're watching this video because you want to learn how to grow food without having to buy stuff from the corporations, you got a garden, well, you're in a pretty good position. The only advice I have there is just keep expanding your ability. Because it's not only about money, it's about resources. These resources are not infinite. And the main resource that I'm talking about in relationship to composting and gardening is topsoil. The way the agriculture people look at topsoil, they're just mining it. They're not working it like they did way in the distant past in terms of looking at the fertility. And even if they did look at the fertility back then, there still was a limit. And even though they might have been growing soil fertility, which was a rare thing, not a lot of people did it, especially on broad acres. You can, as a smallholder with animals and manure and composting, you can grow soil fertility and grow plenty of food for yourself. It's not a depletion system. But agriculture is a depletion system. And some of these people, they claim to be regenerative agriculturalists. Well, even that has its limits because, generally they use cows or some other large mammal as the basis for their growing fertility. But pathogens and diseases and parasites, they all build up on the land over time. So that ends too. That's the way it works. The way the biology on this planet works is if there's any dominant species, they don't stay dominant for long. Because all types of other critters come in to take advantage of those larger animals, even small animals. So the way the biology of the planet works is you only got so much time on a spot, and you got to give it up. Something else has got to take your place, or its place. I've never read this before. I kind of like to think that I coined this term that nobody's really used it before, and that is natural succession. That's what the biology of this planet is. You know, you do have some plants and species that are very, very old. They've managed to adapt as they went, but then there are lots of species that are just gone. Right now they're going away at a pretty fast pace. Alright, time to get some water. I think these are 4-gallon buckets. Oh, maybe 3. Does it say there? That's how much attention I paid to all this. I don't really know. I'm just flying off by the handle here. Just doing what I feel like doing. I'm not doing any cataloging or, you know, my diary is the YouTube channel. I don't think it's 4 gallons. In case you're following along and writing stuff down or something. I don't know if I've had anybody on my channel that's doing that. Most people on YouTube, I think, are just wanting to be entertained. But every once in a while somebody says something, oh yeah, I'm doing it. So, this isn't a technique I developed. I learned it during a course I took. The 3 letters that describes it as PDC. It stands for Permaculture Design Course. And the teacher I had in that course, his name is Jeff Lawton. It was an online course, and that's where I learned it. Permaculture is mostly looking, they put high emphasis on teachers. So if you have teaching ability, and you want to do something because you're unemployed, that might be something for you. I've been kind of monitoring some of these courses, and it looks like the teachers that are out there are filling the courses up pretty easily. The demand is definitely increasing. When I was first looking at it, there weren't any online courses, and I didn't really want to go somewhere. Had a lot of things going on. Maybe I'd think about going somewhere now. Since everything, all activity, everything is way low. But I was looking at it for at least a year. And when that online course came on, it was by somebody who actually was taught by Bill Mollison and taught his course out of the manual. I decided to do it. And that's how I learned how to do this. And it's been a really good decision on my part. My health is way up, and my interests have definitely changed to being more productive. And my interests are, I'm finding my life more interesting, learning how to do all this. That's cooked chira right there. Fermented and cooked by the compost heap. Let me get a good picture out of that, right? Get me in there a little more. All right, see that? Big smile. Oops. And I know you can't smell anything because you're looking at it on your computer screen, but it actually smells good. It smells a little bit like burning tobacco. I've had that sensation before. Ooh, the sun's come out and now I'm getting warm. It was frigid before. Notice all the bird noises are lower? I think they're all sitting on their nests now. Especially during the day, the males sit on their nests and the females aren't as noisy. And the males come out and then they start making their territorial noises. I haven't seen one single piece of fish yet. So 7 days and it's gone. And a couple dry scoops and then it turned moist again. That's kind of how I've been playing this now. I'm thinking about water more than I used to. When I see some scoops that are dry, I'll get some more water. I didn't recognize that the first half dozen piles that I worked, but I managed to get them through. I think I did it from adding a lot of green material. Okay, let's get this in here first. So now we have on the edge of the pile, there's some horse apples, and it's round. They kind of roll off the pile and go to the edge, down on the bottom. So you rake these up. I got a little slot here between the two piles that'll hold it in place while I put other stuff on top of it. So all that stuff kind of rolled off the pile. I'm putting it in the slot between the piles. Some of my videos in the past on composting, I show a close-up of it going in there. But I'm in one of those moods right now. I've been putting up too many videos and I'm getting tired of it. It takes too much time. I'm not doing it for the money because it's not making any money. Well, it's making a little bit of money. Basically, it's paying my cable bill, which I got the internet on. So that's nice. But it's not making me an income per se. So sometimes I get sick of it. I just stop for a while. All right, let's get some more water. Tonight we're supposed to get temperatures down to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have any crops in that are going to be affected by that. But I did cover up the bed with the little carrot seedlings and a few of the kohlrabi, because I don't want their growth to slow. I want it to keep going fast, because those are early crops that I want to harvest early and eat. I just got a plastic roll cover I just put over it. I didn't even make sure it was tucked in or anything. It's just a kind of a little dome over the top with the bottom being open. I noticed that somewhere in the low 20s, a lot of these plants won't die, but they all of a sudden become stunted. And even though they might give a little bit of a crop, it's not, not even a third, maybe even a quarter of what I would have done otherwise. So 28 isn't a deal breaker. I have to go out and cover everything up, and I even have old bed sheets that I got from a hotel. I guess they had to change their sheets regularly. There's some of that white mold. Well, it's not white mold, it's white bacteria. That is a form of white bacteria that was claimed to me to be very good to be in a compost pile. So I'm getting that because I let it go a little bit longer. I've noticed that in the past. Or if I go up north and plant trees or something for 3 days, so I got a pile that's 2.5 days old or something, 3 days old, I'd have that whiteness. And in the past I thought it was white mold, that the pile was turning anaerobic. But nope. I think two signs of anaerobic conditions are it starts to turn black. If it's black, it went anaerobic. And the other is it starts to smell bad. It smells more like swamp water. And I've never had that with any of these piles. We're getting down into the water side. Guess we haven't done any fresh green material for a little bit. Make some little shells for it to rest on. Well, that's a green that I put in last time. That was that big plant that I didn't know what it was. And I asked for the biologists to tell me what it is, and nobody said anything. That's what it looks like after 2 hours or 2 days and 6-7 hours or something we're working on. That's what it looks like. Looks like steamed greens. That's what's coming off this pile is steam. It's not smoke like when you burn fossil fuels. I'm sure there's an element of carbon to it because this is live aerobic bacteria that's living and dying and eating, living and eating and dying, and they're breathing in oxygen and they're breathing out carbon dioxide. What that measurement is, I don't know. But when I apply this to my land, there's a lot of carbon that gets locked up in the process. When I apply it to the land, you have to subtract whatever carbon that it exhales with the carbon that's locked into the material. And then all the plants that I'm going to be growing, they're capturing carbon and locking it in the soil. And then, since I'm eating this food, growing on this land, I'm not buying it from the agriculturalists who are really seriously in the carbon negative. Seriously. Yeah. The reason why I mention it is because one of the subscribers that are following the video, I forget his name, Tony? I gotta think about it. He's got a YouTube channel too that he's been kind of following the permaculture design methods, and he said something about it. And I told him that this is steam. And I was thinking about it, well, you know, this live oxygen breathing bacteria, they got to be like all the humans, you know, breathing oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. I don't know, maybe they're breathing in carbon dioxide. Somebody please tell me. I don't know. Maybe this is 100% just water vapor coming off. There's some good moisture in that part of the pile. I think I better start going this way a little bit so I got room over there to flip it the next time. Instead of going that way, I should turn the camera that way, huh? So many things to think about. I just want to do the work. I just want to grow food, healthy food, so I can live long enough to see some of these trees start fruiting and planting. That's all I want. It's not too much to ask, is it? There's a piece of sod. See, that's starting to go in the pile too. Yeah. It'll probably take another 4 days for that to be totally gone. Well, it feels like it's getting a little dry again. Get some more water. I think the reason why this compost uses a lot of water, maybe not as much as past ones, is because it's the wood shavings that are mixed into the horse manure. That's one way the horse ranch that I get this manure from, that's one way they control the smell and the activity of it. I mean, if you take just pure manure and pile up somewhere, it gets pretty smelly. That's what I think they're doing, and it's really made for some wonderful compost. One of these videos I'll show you I got a pile here of last year's. So what I did last year was made on the same manure and somewhat similar ingredients, maybe the same ingredients, maybe a little different mixtures, and then even before it was done, it was still hot the day I was distributing it, I made beds right here, right in the composting area. So I could utilize the area for not only just composting, and I use it for storage in the winter, but also to grow food in. That's why May 1st seems to be the right date, where you get some green material to add. It's growing by then, meaning like the garlic, mustard, and so on. And I like adding a lot of material because the more material you add as you're working it, the more elements are in that pile. And I've been working it for a month till the end of May, and that's perfect time to start growing crops here in Wisconsin. USDA planting zone 5. We're close to Lake Michigan, so we get a maritime effect from the lake. Normally, maritime effect is used to talk about the ocean temperatures affecting the land nearby, but Lake Michigan does have an effect. You can see there's a corridor of planting zone 5 running up the edge of Lake Michigan, and it stops right here at Manitowoc. It's like the finger of it. And beyond that, it's planting zone 4. Then there is this planting zone 5 up north a little more. There's a couple little spots in upper Michigan. And on the Michigan side, because they're on the west coast of Lake Michigan, or on the east coast, we're on the west coast, you know, the earth is spinning so that all of the effect goes that way, and that's the lake direction. So the maritime effect, the temperature variation, it has to come and fight the spin of the earth. So it's only going to come on a couple miles on the land. On the Michigan side, because the earth is spinning in that direction, they have a lot wider of a planting zone 5 over there. And even there's a planting zone 6 that comes up pretty high on that side. But then they pay for it by less sunshine and more clouds. So it's not perfect. It doesn't look like I'm going to get all the hair into this one. But But there's some water in the bottom of that yet, so we'll save that for next time since we're almost done here. Oh, we got the green material. Green material is nitrogen and bacteria. And of course, these weeds all have different element mixtures in it. You know, like burdock has iron, and I'm not even sure what garlic mustard has. I read about it. I got stinging nettle in here too. So that's starting to get up. We'll be adding more of that as we go. Stinging nettle is considered a mineral accumulator. And getting that into your compost is some really rich stuff. And also comfrey is considered a mineral accumulator as well. And that I think I got 30 plants on the property, and they're getting to be 6-7 inches high, and I'll probably let them go another week yet, get them at least a foot high, and or there's a lot of leaf mass and comfrey. And lots of nitrogen and comfrey, and it has an element that very few plants accumulate. It's very small, but it does accumulate a little, and that's iodine. And if you look on the soils, composition soils, iodine is in short supply in the soil around the Great Lakes region. I don't know why. Maybe it has something to do with this land was covered with ice for a long time. I don't know. Then I have another product that I'm going to put in here that I've done in the past. It's with black walnut hulls. The husks on the outside. There's some of that thyme that I put in last time. The green is gone, but we still got some of the stalks. I didn't see anywhere else, but I can tell this pile's getting a little dry right here. So I'm going to put a little more on it. It's not working as well. I'll put a little more here and I'll go get some more water. This is where the pile was kind of nose diving down. The slope was steep right there, and there was less height to the pile, so there's less action there. I must not have put enough water on it because I can tell this is drier. Alright, let's put one or two over it. I didn't see one piece of fish. Okay. Oh, here's a piece of fish. Look at that. Some of it has a pretty big chunk, so I don't know if that's from behind the head or what. big enough piece of fish will last 7 days. It's amazing that this bacteria even eats all the bones on fish. There's no bones after it's completed. Okay, all the sod has been placed in the pile now. Okay, now for the stretch run. Almost done now. I don't even know how much of this I've been getting. You know, it's not like Jeff Lawton, you know, he's got employees, he's got a crew, he's got a person that films them, he probably has somebody that does the editing. All he does is set himself up and start talking. He does make some really nice videos. But I don't want to start another business. I don't even want the one I don't have anymore. I have a couple of employees that are, 2 employees that are pretty stable. They just come in because that's what they do. So I guess as long as they keep coming in and taking care of things, and as long as it pays the bills, then I'm okay. I'm learning to live on a lot less money, so I just don't need it. In the old days, you know, I went and bought a new boat and took it all over the place fishing. I made money, but boy, I spent it fast enough. I'm not too smart, but I think I'm all right. That's how bad it's going to get. You know this was coming. If you've done any reading of history, you know that there's been lots and lots of catastrophe throughout the written history of humans. We've had a pretty long, stable period. If you've been alive most of your life, you know, if you're getting to the end of it like I am, you've lived during probably the best time ever. In human terms. Somebody said the other day that the average middle-class American lives better than Cleopatra did. And it's gone on for a long time. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if it doesn't go our way for a while, that shouldn't be of any surprise. People who live just to have fun are going to have a problem. I remember when I was a lot younger, and that Nancy Reagan was on TV, and she said, "Just live for the day, live to be happy," she says. If you took her advice, you didn't build up any resources. If you were alive then, you know, if you had the time. I mean, for young people, it's just a bad timing to be alive, that's all. If you're older, took your advice, you're not going to be in a good position if this really turns into some long drawn out, you know, recession, depression type of a situation. You better be learning. If you're listening to this, you're probably pretty much aware of some of that stuff. I mean, you're looking for ways to grow food. And, I mean, even if you're not aware and you're looking for ways to grow food, that's better than not looking. Because I think if you're growing food, you're going to have be in a better position. I heard there's already meat shortages in stores. Who would ever thought that was going to happen? I mean, you hear the preppers talking about it. There's going to be food shortages, but you know, you're so used to going to the grocery store and it's always there. Nah, that ain't going to happen. Well, guess what? That's happening. So prepare yourselves. And I think compost, this kind of compost is actually the most important element that you can apply to your food growing situation. Nothing more important than this in a climate like we have here. If you're in an arid climate, then the composting is the second most important. The most important would be storing water. You know, either in tanks or in the soil somehow. And I'm doing that in the soil here and tanks here too, so I'm even doing that here. The compost is number one. And probably you can say in conjunction with that, the storage of water, because compost needs a lot of water. Alright, that's it. We're done. Just getting warmed up and now I gotta quit. Yeah, we got a lot of space over there to turn the pile now, so this is the first time I've had so much room. This is an apricot tree that's in my way. I actually had it growing in the limbs of in the shade of a sour cherry. And that sour cherry was never produced, and it had a lot of, I don't know what they call it, black knot or something. So I cut it down. But its limbs the limbs of the apricot grew way off to the side. So I kind of like that. Let's see what happens. I did have some fruit last year for the first time. That's a Brianna. That's the name of it, Brianna. B-R-I-A-N-A. And it had about a dozen fruit on it. But the squirrels stole it. So this year I'm going to protect them. Ooh, I broke a limb right here. That's not a good news. Apricots can die if they're broken apart in the spring. Uh-oh. There's bacteria that can get in there. I'll go get some grafting tape and wrap it around there. Otherwise, that's it. We're done with the compost. Yeah, it's supposed to be cold the next 2 days, so we're not worried about it overheating. Okay. I'm going to get some compost tape. Yeah. I'm going to get some grafting tape for this limb that I just broke. Otherwise, that's a final. It's a wrap. So stay tuned for the next episode of As the Compost Turns. Stay tuned for the next episode of As the Compost Turns. Thanks for watching.